Hey, what's up, guys? Ray Porto here, and Sony just had their press conference as well. Really interesting, and they did mention beforehand that they're going to announce specific games, and they're going to really talk about a few games at the conference. So they start off with The Last of Us 2. Looked pretty heavy. Looked thematically pretty intense. A lot of weight on Ellie in terms of what she's burdening, what's going on with the future, what's going on with her situation. The combat definitely looked pretty intense. Very weighty, a lot of stuff that makes sense in real life, like hiding under cars, going through specific cracks in games. Usually we don't get that kind of freedom, but yeah, it definitely was a lot more kind of, if you were in that situation, you should be able to do those things, and that's pretty cool. Definitely looked awesome, very intense, weighty, man, visually, the foliage, the grass, freaking amazing. It looked awesome. The next game that they went ahead and showed, or at least the games that I'm going to talk about in terms of my interest, they went ahead and showed Ghost of Tsushima. I really thought this was Tenchu or Sekiro, but that was obviously my mistake. They even said it. Hey, these are the games we're going to talk about. When they went ahead and showed a lot, they really showed a lot. Like they showed what seemed to be trailer. Kind of like a trailer for the game. It was actually just gameplay, and visually looks stunning. Looks like a game my friend Ho23 on Twitter said it reminded him, it wanted him to feel like a Way of the Samurai kind of game, where you explore this open world Edo period where samurais are still about, and it looked pretty cool. Visually looks crazy good. Houses in the far left when this particular samurai had to fight two users, one with a samurai sword, the other one with a staff. And the combat to me seemed nice. It reminded me of Assassin's Creed, but before this one. So it reminded me of I attack, you counter, and each slice or each attack definitely seemed like it had consequences. Where if you get hit, you're gonna get wrecked. You're gonna die within like 3-4 hits max. So it definitely seemed a little bit more slower, but it really reminded me of Assassin's Creed, where just wait for parries. Just wait for parries seems like the most optimal route. They went ahead and showed off where the protagonist, I assume, was called the horse, and then he went off to a specific area. Really gave me a Breath of the Wild feel. Link, he went up to this particular hill, looked at the vast environment. Again, it's very cinematic, but definitely reminding me of Breath of the Wild. Called this horse, got on it, went to another area. Grappling hook 2018. It's all about grappling hooks nowadays. And the combat and story, and graphics, and I want to see where this goes. It looked pretty cool. It looks like a story that I haven't seen in a while. Definitely down for it. Combat, I gotta see. I just want to see more. I just want to see if they polish it or they just maybe throw something extra in there that I'll be like, all right, cool, you know what, the combat does look better now. The next game that caught my interest was, surprisingly, Resident Evil 2 Remake, coming out January 25th, 2019. And that came out of nowhere because I was trying to make a connection of how the trailer initially showed, where we were giving a first-person view of this creature. So it might have been a roach or a rat, but the first screen we saw, or the first object we saw in the world, was a PlayStation 1. And I'm like, okay, cool. So what property is about being a small person and traversing the environment as a small person in the PlayStation 1 era? Like I was trying to narrow things down, and it didn't make sense. And then that's when I really lost the big picture, when this person is being attacked by another person. He gets pushed over, and then this cabin falls on the creature. You find out it was a rat. But then you realize that the person who attacked the other person was a zombie ripping his neck, like part of his throat out. And it was Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I was like, wow, that's... what? So it was cool that they showed that now and announced it next year, like spring, as a release date. So the last 2 years, or even last year, even any other showing after that, they didn't show nothing because they were working on the game. Kudos for them. Put their heads down on the paper and just work. Could have been nice for an update, but really, I'd rather have them just straight working and say, hey, it's coming out next year, as opposed to them you know what, we're gonna show a teaser, we're gonna show a gameplay level, and then it comes out the end of next year. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine. Next game again that they showed was Kingdom Hearts 3, January 29th. Cool, Sora. They showed off the new area of Pirates of the Caribbean. Never seen any of the Pirates movie. Supposedly they're good. Jack Sparrow's in it. Yeah, it looks really nice. It looks very realistic because, you know, it's the Pirates of the Caribbean setting, so definitely realistic. They showed off. I find it interesting, Death Stranding, but that's about it. It's a lot of walking. Really reminded me of Breath of the Wild, just in the sense of, yeah, I can walk in Breath of the Wild these mountains, and I can definitely have more fun and do more things. But it is what it is. It's an auteur project to me personally, where, you know, it's Kojima, you know, big name. He's gonna have a lot of talent and action behind this, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a great game. But to me personally, it just hasn't caught my attention, and it doesn't mean it can't. So the next game that they just teased out blatantly, or really I didn't know what it was, because I thought it would be like an Oni game, like an old PS2 Oni game, but that was like with 2 chicks and a gun or something like that. But it's with 2 demons, and they almost slayed a human. He got stabbed in the head, and then you realize that they're horns, and he rips them off, and then he transforms into this fiery demon, and then you realize it's Nioh 2, and I was like, whoa, Nioh 2 just, holy crap, that was a quick turnaround. I'm like, damn, this is definitely the era of samurais or ninjas, and it's by Team Ninja, and I'm just kind of like, all right, Ninja Gaiden, where you guys at? You know, like, hopefully one day they'll come back, even though they don't know. My assumption is that they don't know what to do with that series, but hey, hopefully they reboot the series, like Ho23 also said that. Just start clean, bring it up to the new people. Nioh 2, surprising. And then they ended off with Spider-Man. Not pretty versed in terms of the Marvel universe or DC. Just, I always ask my friends or Ho23 for, hey, is this relevant to this universe, or is this part of the comics? He said this is approximately around the time of the Sinister Six, so the trailer did show a lot. So in terms of what everything they shown in Spider-Man, pretty cool trailer, which led, everything was in game, so it felt like a trailer was really in game. Showed the prison, and Electrode was basically releasing all of the inmates in there, and at the very end of it you saw that there were 5 villains gang up on Spider-Man, with a theoretical 6th one showing up with Spidey saying, oh, it's you. That was pretty cool. I don't really know who the Sinister Six was, but it did sound pretty cool, like how they were kind of like, hey, you know, this is, we're gonna take, but we're gonna put our own twist, so we're gonna see what's up. And that's really it in terms of what they showed, since they did make an agenda saying we're gonna talk about these particular 4 titles, and they didn't deviate too much. They didn't really deviate, with the exception of maybe like 2 announcements, which was the Nioh 2 and the Resident Evil 2 remake. And there were other games that they showed, they just didn't catch my full attention. Overall, as a conference, it was consistent, it was meaty. It wasn't Microsoft stand where they showed games, indies, developers, they're pushing for the future. They're about the gamers and the developers. It was a different take, where this was more about Sony and showing off what they can do as a first party. Because you notice that everything in that conference, with the exception of maybe Nioh and Kingdom Hearts, everything was just Sony exclusive. Everything was about them, and that was nice. All of their games had a meaty 10 to 15 minute gameplay interval where you saw the combat, you saw cinematics, and you got a glimpse of what the future holds for this game that's going to be played. And it was nice, but I feel like there wasn't any love in terms of for the other people. You know, sure, the third party, instinctively, if I saw Jump Force for the Xbox One on their Microsoft platform, I was like, cool, I saw that trailer and I'm hyped for the game. Even though I saw it on Microsoft, I know I'm going to get it for the PS4. But it's like, I'm personally already trained to say, I'm going to buy the game though for the PS4 by default. And I feel like they could have at least put a scissor reel to other companies that like help them out, especially with exclusive content. Yeah, sure, maybe Destiny was shown in like the pre-announcements or in the pre-show, but it's like just Destiny. Like Monster Hunter, you guys have some kind of exclusive with them. You know, you guys are doing Aloy as a character skin that you guys have with you, or well, at least it was a time at the time, those kind of things. And I feel like, well, they showed what they promised and they didn't deviate from the plan. I just wish that they had just one more thing. It's always a one more thing, right? Like, I wish one more thing, but whatever. Overall, I give it like I think I said 7 or 8 out of 10. Excuse me, let's just say 7.5 out of 10. Good conference. It was meaty in each game that we know what's to come, with a few announcements in terms of release dates, like Resident Evil and Spider-Man coming out in 3 months. And of course, they have other conferences later on, but that's till then. Overall, it was fun. See ya.